Hey guys, so this should be interesting. My first shots of the day. Been working. I do work. I have a feeling this video is going to be quite a bit of a mishmash. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about is the stuff that I started doing almost 40 years ago. Well, 30 years ago. And I don't have to think about a lot of it anymore. I just kind of just do it. And the other thing is, I don't ever want to come off like I'm sounding like I've got any of this mastered or anything. It is an effort, and sometimes it's more of an effort than I'm capable of mustering. But we'll see. And what year was it? 86? 87, I think. I just turned, no, 86, I just turned 21. I was staged in Omaha, and right at the same time, the Bush League, it's the APA League, but back then they were sponsored by Bush Beer, so it was the Bush League, came to Omaha. And so we had a meeting at this bar called the Horny Bull, which is the place that I hung out. The guy told us about the league and all this. This was the guy that, if you watch my earlier videos about the guy that started trying to teach me about the interpool player, that was the guy. He was the league operator, and he had a meeting and told us all about the league and all that fun stuff. We had our first session probably just a few weeks after that, and I lost my very first league match. So, unrated player. Well, we all were at that point, and I was nervous. I was a kid. I was nervous. I was a little bit scared of the guy, although I didn't know him. I didn't know if he was any good or not. It's one of the things about, well, when you're young and here I felt like I was a pretty decent player. Amongst my friends, I was a pretty decent player. But now all of a sudden I'm going to get a league rating, so it's like it's going to be official. I can't say I'm better than I really am, because it's right there. Anybody can look it up. This is how good Dave is. And I remember thinking about all that in my match. Well, if I lose this match, man, everybody's going to think I suck. And it's going to be right there on a piece of paper or carved in granite. I don't know what they did back then. Everybody's going to know I suck. And yeah, I was scared and nervous and all that, and I lost my match. I don't think I lost any more matches after that. For that session, I've certainly lost matches since then. At one point in my young life, I was a pretty good tennis player, as you can tell by my tennis physique that I still maintained. And even though I didn't play anymore, I'd hurt my knee, I was still pretty good friends with my old tennis coach. And I was talking to him about, the pressure, the nervousness, maybe even a little bit the fear that I felt, excuse me, in that match. And hey, do you have any advice? Certainly when I was playing tennis, there were a heck of a lot of people way better and more experienced than me, which I did. But in a lot of cases I was able to win. And it was pretty similar to the interpool player stuff that I learned later on. But one of the tricks that he taught me, that coach taught me, was it's tough to just turn off an emotion. Even if I wasn't already just 21 years old and all that, even for somebody, at my advanced age now, it's tough to just turn it off. We are human beings. And I guess maybe you could have like monks with decades of mental training and all that shit, and they could turn all that off, but he wasn't talking about monks. He was talking about me. He said, if I can't turn it off, if I can't turn off that nervousness, maybe try to turn it to something else. And what he suggested was, instead of just being just generally nervous about the situation, the league, and all that, try to turn it into excitement. Excitement in that case about, how well I was going to play, how much fun I was going to have. Things like that. It's easier to turn an emotion into something kind of similar than it is to just flat out don't have that emotion, or ignore that emotion, or be able to not have that emotion bother you whatsoever. And that's pretty much what I started doing right away, working on it. And it wasn't an overnight thing for me. But I started working on, anytime I would feel a little bit nervous, getting ready to play, just turning it into just being excited about it. It was going to be cool. It was going to be fun. I was improving at a pretty rapid pace at that time. So even if I lose to this guy, I'm still going to be shooting, and so I'm still going to be improving because that's what I was doing back then. So be excited about that. Be excited about it. Don't be dreading, losing a match, and that's kind of the only thing you think about. Oh, we'll lose. No, try to. Hey, it's going to be cool, And if I shoot well, then that'll be even better, And I feel like I did a pretty good job at that kind of stuff, and to this day, and there are people there are people right now on YouTube that are out there making videos saying if a pool player says he never gets nervous, he's a liar. And I'm going to say, well, I don't get nervous, but I'm not a fucking liar either. I just take that nervous feeling, and about the most that I ever do with it anymore is just think about how much fun it's going to be, how I can learn something from whatever I'm doing, whoever I'm playing. And I can turn it, I don't have to think about it very much anymore, just because I've been doing it for so long. I don't have it mastered, and I will catch myself every now and then thinking that, man, I better give this just a little bit of effort to make sure I don't get nervous. I do, and some days it seems easy, some days it seems tough, and some days I don't even notice it. Those are the days that I like, where I don't even notice it, because it just happens automatically. I think those nerves, that was a good shot. I think those nervous feelings are still happening. I think I've just managed to learn how to deal with them almost 100% of the time. Deal with it, and they take that nervous feeling, you're shaking a little bit, you're maybe intimidated, whatever that is, it's a negative emotion, and just tip it a little bit over to the positive side. That's the excitement side of things. Just tip it a little bit. A heck of a lot easier to do that than to just turn the whole thing off and don't feel that emotion, period. Like I said, human being, they're going to happen. Emotions are going to happen. If they didn't, a philosopher would probably say, well, what's the purpose of life then? What's the point of it? I don't know. I don't want to start rambling right off the bat. There are books and videos and all kinds of stuff out there talking about the mental side of the game. I think they're all pretty much saying the same thing, just maybe going about it in different ways. You don't want to be up there shooting and be scared because you're nervous. You're shaking because you're nervous. You don't want that. You want to either do like I kind of do, is try to turn it into excitement. Not so much excitement that I'm shaking from excitement. I didn't want to get that impression. A lot of people, talk about things like, meditation and all this and that. Just a general calmness that you can try to develop in yourself. And that's all great, but sometimes if you're a generally calm person, then that emotion that you might feel, nervousness of a match, could come as a surprise, and it makes it seem a little bit stronger than it even really is. Because where the hell did that come from? I haven't felt an emotion in a week because I'm a calm person. Now all of a sudden I'm nervous and shaking. I could be wrong about that. That might be just me, based on some of the stuff that I went through back a million years ago. I think most of the instructors talking about the mental side of pool are kind of talking about the same thing. You don't want those negative emotions, absolutely. In a perfect world, I would play pool without any emotions whatsoever. Not even the excitement I was talking about. Sometimes I can manage that. And I think when you get to zero emotions and you're playing, that's kind of dead stroke. That's kind of one of the definitions of dead stroke. I wish I could do that every time, but most people watching this video probably do. I knew that was good. See, I knew that was going to go short, and I was right. Does it count if I was right? Maybe half credit for the shot or something? If I'm right that it was going to go short? Trying to learn how to bank. I mentioned in an earlier video that I'm out of practice on my bank because I was practicing 8-ball quite a bit the last couple months. And now I get to practice banks, which is fun for me. Once they start going in, it's fun for me. And Derby City Classic is coming up, and that's one of the few opportunities that I get to play bank pool is that thing. Oh, so there'll be more, but this is the Taom V10 chalk. I've been trying this for several days, and I do really like it. I'm not yet convinced that it's good enough to justify the cost, like versus the triangle I'm used to. But from what I've seen just playing, the reviews that I've been reading are pretty much spot on as far as how well it stays off of the cue ball. In other words, I don't ever get spots of chalk on the cue ball that's going to cause a skid or whatever later on. It surprised me because a lot of reviews that you read on different products, a lot of those people they're sponsored by those products, or they're hoping that they say a bunch of good shit about the product, that maybe they'll ship them something. In this case, that doesn't seem to be what's happening. It seems to be a really legit piece of chalk and do what it says. So, this is not a product review, and they're not a sponsor of mine. But just in case anybody noticed that this is what I'm using, it's the Taom V10. I want to do another video about chalk, all the different kinds of chalk I have. The last one I did wasn't really so much as a series of reviews. It was just kind of a, hey, if you think paying $25 or whatever for a piece of chalk helps your game, then it probably does help your game. So go ahead. If you can afford it, go ahead. If you don't think it helps your game, then it probably doesn't. It's all that mental shit. So the way pool usually works, and I've said this in videos before, was I'll miss, and then I'll overcompensate, and then the third time I'll go straight in the hole. We'll see if that happens this time around. It's not like I have this 4-rail or mastered, but I do shoot it a lot. Yeah, I mean, how many times have I said, if they would give me 3 tries at every shot, I could win myself a hell of a lot of tournaments and a hell of a lot of money. I could. What was I talking about? I was talking about nervousness, pressure, anything that you could decide it's hurting your game. Man, I wish I didn't feel this pressure. Sometimes you can't really turn it off. It's not that easy to just not feel any pressure. But you might have a little bit better luck just twisting it to something that's close but not quite as negative. If I'm in an important match and I start to feel a little bit of pressure about it, if there's a lot of money on the line and I don't have very much or something, I start to feel just that pressure. Just try to turn it just a little bit. And in that case, yeah, but I go, well, okay, that's fine. I'm going to learn something. It's still going to be fun if I let it be fun. I can't if I'm all nervous because of the pressure. It's not going to be any fun. So don't want that. I say I want to continue to have fun with this. So, and hey, I get paid next week. So, if I have to eat dog food for a week, I have to eat dog food for a week. I guess I'm definitely rambling with that mess there. That's just all I was going to say was we are emotional creatures as human beings. Most of us anyway. And sometimes instead of trying to turn off an emotion or instead of trying to have it just not bother you at all, like, water off a duck's back, sometimes it's more reasonable to just try to twist it into something else. I find it a lot easier, well, for me, and I did back, 40 years ago, I found it a lot easier for me to have the mental discipline to, instead of just being generically nervous, to be excited. And that made the whole experience more fun for me. Just going through all the motions, being excited about it, instead of going through everything and being nervous about it. The whole point of all this is to have fun, for me anyway, and I think for a lot of people. There are secondary goals, win $1 billion, make the Moscone Cup, whatever. But I still think it needs to be fun, and I think an awful lot of pool players, where if it wasn't any fun at all, they might be looking for something else to do if they had that opportunity. That's all I was going to say. Bye, guys.